Okay, welcome everyone. It's time for the patch 4 stream. So I just wanted to say hello and thank you for dropping by. As you can see here, we've got the Smugglers of Cygnus running, and we're about to go ahead and check out patch 4. I ask you to bear with any difficulties with the audio or drops. I'm currently on the road for work, and so I'm having to just make do with what I've got. Hopefully by the next patch, everything will be back to normal or perhaps a little better. Okay, so first off, and most significantly, thank you everyone for bearing with us as we have worked on this project for a very, very long time. And your support has been extremely helpful. And it's the only reason we were able to keep doing this project, which, honestly was a big project when we embarked upon it. But we felt that at the time, in 2020, there simply were not very many good space sims available. Now in 2024, there are some pretty good space sims available. So hopefully, we will continue to bring things that people find interesting, and we'll bring a slightly different spin on things that people will find interesting. So that is the goal and where we're heading. For one thing, we have first-class Linux support. We're hoping to add support for Apple. We have support for Windows, and we keep it focused on a little bit lower tier machine, a little bit more accessible machine than some of these other projects and some of these other major games, such as Starfield and things like that. And obviously, Robert Space Industries aims at the very, very top tier. Starfield's a bit more accessible, and then there's other games that are still fairly accessible, but we're trying to keep it accessible to anybody who has a discrete video card, and just trying to produce the best we can with a combination of Godot and multi-platform support, and keeping things focused. So let me go ahead and get moving here, and I think the best thing I can do is show off the new stuff that came out in patch 4. That's where I traditionally start these streams, so let's do it. Okay, now if you're new to patch 4 and you have previously used the other patches, I highly recommend you switch to a different ship model than you used in the original, just in case there's a bug in the save file, or you can simply delete your save file. Your save file would be in your home directory or in your app data directory. But the easiest way to make sure that you don't run into any bugs is just to go ahead and switch ship models. So for example, if you were running an El Toro of some variety, switch to the Spectre. If you were running the Spectre, go ahead and switch to the El Toro. This will help deal with one of the small bugs that I've seen that came out after this patch was released. I'll try to get a fix for it in pretty soon here. Okay, so for the purpose of this demo, we're going to go ahead and I think we're going to run with the Spectre. Well, actually, why don't we do one with more customization? So we'll run with the El Toro with wings. And this is a fairly pretty ship. This was, of course, made by the awesome Despacio, who did a great job for us, and is currently working for some fairly big names. And this one, of course, you've got a choice of 2 different cons. You can switch to this one or this one, and you'll notice now that the crew number changes. Those sorts of things are available, so you can see which one it has. Now the wings give you the ability to add on your little engines, and these little winglet engines are very, very handy because they give you more boost, and boost is good. And you'll notice that there is an engine power rating over here. And you'll also notice that there are some bugs with the engine power rating that I need to actually fix. So that's getting done. But for starts, let's go ahead and go with the little winglet engines, and we'll go with the single with the winglets. Oh, the other thing is you can now get rid of the winglet engines if you choose by just simply switching back and then switching forward again, and you'll see that the engines no longer sit there. But you'll also see that I have a little bit of an engine power goof, which will result in you going extremely fast. So That's a bug that I need to fix. Okay, so we're going to go with the winglet engines, and I typically go with the red for stream because it makes good screenshots. It pops really nicely, but there's several other options. There's the blue, which I think is pretty. This is what I often use when I'm just doing my own testing. There's the gray, which is very subtle and I think it's a little bit bland, but it's very subtle and has some neat little effects to it. The orange, of course, is one of the classics. We use this in a lot of our advertising because it pops really well. And also, this of course shows off very nicely the vertex coloring because we're actually using vertex paint on these as opposed to a texture. So because it's a vertex paint, it actually the information is stored in the mesh itself as to what regions can be colored in different ways, which makes it very efficient to change colors, and it will eventually allow higher customization options. And then, of course, there's the dark gray, and I think this one is just stunning, but it doesn't tend to look especially sharp on the stream. It blends into space. This will probably be much better for multiplayer stuff. So for now, let's go ahead and grab that nice bright red. You'll notice that bridges is still grayed out. Unfortunately, we're not to the point yet where there's multiple bridges for the interiors. I still need to make them, but we will get there. Okay, so for now, let's go ahead and launch this thing. At this point in the alpha life cycle, I'm still launching you into the game in a ship hovering outside of the station. You've got your controls here on the left-hand side. Gamepad controls are supported, but I'm still working out the details for getting the gamepads to work perfectly. Unfortunately, gamepad is kind of a second-class citizen at the moment, just because I don't have a good solid controller setup and I don't tend to use them very much. So I am working on it. But if you find the menu doesn't work properly with gamepad, please update it on the forum. Let me know, and I will get it working as fast as possible. Okay, let me go ahead and check to see if there's any comments or feedback. Yes, and we have one comment. Let me just go ahead and respond to that real quick. Okay, and welcome, Jess. Thank you for joining. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and show off the main feature of Alpha 4, right? Obviously, the main feature is we can actually now go up here and we no longer just crash into the station and disappear inside of the module. We've got the flight deck or the hangar bay, which I believe the poll decided on. I'm going to go ahead and maneuver up here for it. You'll notice that the keyboard maneuvering is a lot smoother now. That's actually courtesy of the improvements that we made in the handling in the last patch. It's actually now completely physics-based. And while we may tune this a bit more, well, I say may, we're definitely going to be tuning this a bit more. It's certainly a lot smoother and less, obnoxious than it was beforehand. And again, give it a try. Put your feedback into the forum, and we will do what we can. Now you'll notice that if I come to a full dead stop, which is I press 1 or left button, that we actually come to a complete halt, not just a stationary halt. That's a bit arcadey, but we did that specifically to make it a little bit easier for people. It can be difficult, especially in Sims, to strike that nice balance between what's realistic and what people actually want to play. So that's what we've tried to do. And obviously, just because I'm demonstrating it, something goes wrong. So one moment, and I will go ahead and relaunch it, and we will get back there. And welcome there, Sten. I appreciate you hopping on. Let me get back to where we were here. You test this stuff and you test the stuff, and then you even run it before you stream and make sure that it's all working properly. And still, when you stream, inevitably something goes wrong. Some days that's just the way it goes. crashing into the station there a little bit. Why not? Okay, this time it worked properly. I don't know. Just because I wrote this stuff, you'd think I know how it works. Okay, so what we have here is we have our hangar bay, as the name was voted on. Oh, actually, let me go ahead and stop so that you can look around. So this lift right here, this lift goes up to space. And we will eventually be doing a much cleaner thing, though right now you can tell that it still has just gray out there. I haven't actually had a background put in it yet. This will eventually be part of a much more smooth, transparent descent into the station. But for now, what I wanted to make sure that everyone got a hand on was the hangar as fast as possible. It already took me 45 days or so, which was longer than I expected it to take, but a few things were a little trickier than I thought they'd be. Aren't they all, right? I mean, the motto of developing, especially games, is we did this not because it was easy, but because we thought it would be easy. So we now go into the hangar deck here. And you can see that a parking location for us has been designated. If you wish to park your ship, that is where you'll put it. You can do this in first person, you can do this in third person, really whatever makes you happy. Now, one thing you'll probably notice is I have capped the engine power in the hangar just to make sure that it's actually a bit more controllable. You certainly don't have to do that. We can if people decide that it's perfectly controllable, we can uncap it at some point. But it seemed to be a lot easier for me to control when I had it capped. So you can see the gear come down on this model, anyways. I don't have the gear working properly yet for the Spectre. They will be soon. That's coming. And then this isn't actually a cutscene. This is actually handled in code, the actual landing piece. So because it's not a, like a spline that you follow down and land on, what it's actually doing is it's orienting you to the parking space with some approximations. I wanted it to feel like not picture perfect, but approximated. It's orienting you to the parking space, and then your ship descends into the parking space via, actual physics. That way, I thought it might be a bit more interesting for people, and it'll be a bit less fragile than some of the other methods. In some games, I've used actual rigid animations to do things like that, and I find that it tends to lead to embarrassing situations. Like if you have a rigid seating animation, sometimes it works. Sometimes you end up sitting, sideways on the chair or something odd like that. So I felt that had a better, chance of success. I have tuned down this a little bit. It's still pretty bright, but it's not quite as obnoxious as it was. Obviously, Bad Luck Bart's bar still works. And yes, you can walk through the chairs. I don't have collision turned on inside these rooms at the moment, just so that people can explore smoothly and not feel like they're bumping into things. Whether or not I leave collision turned on or I leave collision turned off will depend on feedback. Let me check and see if there's any comments I need to address here real quick. One moment. With one screen and working out of a hotel room, there's only so much you can do. It's not quite that nice, like multi-screen, easy streaming setup. So let's go check out the Academy. Now, the Academy is going to be the home for all of the tutorials in the very near future. You're going to be able to go in here and have actually kind of an interesting sequence happen. We've got a voice actor booked and hours of voice acting queued up. So he'll be talking you through, joining the flight academy, your first couple tutorial missions, which will be in a special ship, a tutorial ship that I'm working on building. That was supposed to be ready for patch 4, but like I said, it was already at 45 days for patch 4, and I really wanted to get patch 4 delivered to people rather than just have it sit out there forever. So unfortunately, yeah, I'm sorry, but that'll be in patch 5. But when it is, you'll have the new ship, which is a very, very small, very nimble little ship, will be available for people to fly around once they've gone through the tutorial missions here. And the tutorial, of course, will cover all the basic things for the game. And I'll really be looking for people's feedback on that. You know, what do they want to see in the tutorial? What do they need to see in the tutorial? It's obviously going to cover things like here's how you start your ship, here's how you stop the ship, here's how you fly and how you land, and here's an example mission that you will take on. Here is an example package that you will deliver, and here's an example package that you will pick up, and some things like that. It'll be pretty straightforward. It'll walk you through things like here's how you check for your current job and your current mission. Here's how you look at the details for your missions. Here's how you look at the details for the jobs if you have one, things like that. So it's going to have that sort of stuff, but it's difficult when you're actually the person developing these things to make sure that you're answering the questions that people are going to have, because sometimes they're obvious and sometimes they're not. Okay, but that will all be accessible in here. And starting in probably patch 5, you will not be starting in space. You will actually be starting probably right about here, looking towards the academy, to make it very straightforward. Welcome to the station. Here's your first destination. We'll make that very, very, very straightforward. Of course, you still got the ability to go over here and meet Bad Luck Bart as your first thing.
Hey, it's very good to see you.
And this, of course, is Our Day Gamer, our first voice acting in the game. And he's got some various things he can tell you about.
A big old fight, a real genuine slobber knocker.
And you can look into the quest and you can see how things are going. And you can choose to go away.
Thanks for stopping by.
And if you choose to go away, the mission will no longer show up. If you want to bring up missions that have been completed, you can always just press the Alt button. I think there's a gamepad equivalent for it, but I'm not sure what it is yet. We need to find a good one for it. And then you can see what the previous ones were. You can't actually click on the previous ones yet. If that's a feature people would like, if they want to be able to see the little overview of them, we'll do that. But otherwise, it's just going to show you the this kind of view for whatever the top one is. Yeah, if that's worth doing in more detail, we'll certainly do that in more detail. Eventually, there'll be dozens and dozens of missions, so it may be useful to look back at old ones. I don't know. Let me know. Give me your feedback in the feedback thread there. If you come and talk to him again,
it's very good to see you.
Then you can go ahead and pick up the actual mission.
For business, right? Well, let me tell you.
And he will tell you all about what he needs done. And then when you see this little icon right here, this means that this is a mission. And
see you when you get back. Thanks for stopping by.
You see the little new mission notification down there on the bottom left. And you'll see now that you have a mission. And you can see the details for the mission as well, which more or less repeats what he already said, but it gives you the information. You can also track and untrack missions to determine whether they show up there on the side. Like, for example, if I go here and I click track, you'll see that it's no longer tracked and no longer shows up there on the side. And if I choose tracked, it shows up there on the side again. So why don't we go out here and do that? So now you'll see that we have that mission out there. So this room, which is still locked, this is the quartermaster's office, and this is where you're going to be going to have like ship modifications done, things like that. We'll have a lot of interesting missions and quests in there. But for now, let's go into the hangar bay. You'll see that it starts you in the parking space that you departed from. If it's been a while, it will put you in a random parking space. But if it's just been a little bit, it'll put you back in the same one that you were in. And you'll notice that you're already set up and ready to fly so that you don't have to wait, you don't have to do anything funny. You can just start right on and head off on your mission. There will be NPCs and crew down here to deal with, and some interesting missions that you can do in the near future. Not sure exactly what patch that will have. And then we're out here, and you'll see that there are some waypoint markers for items of interest. Okay, let me check real quick and see if there's any commentary. Okay, and there's no commentary. Okay, so we're going to go out here and we're going to pick up a couple of these. And we can do this from either view, obviously. If you want to do it from inside the ship, or if you want to do it from outside the ship, you'll notice that the waypoint markers are visible basically through the ship. This is so that you never quite lose track of where you're going or what you're doing. Oh, and at that speed, I went right past it. Very easy at space speeds to go way too fast, way too quickly. Let's get that suspicious debris here. And I'm sure somebody will find an order for this that allows them to pick them up, as fast as possible. But at the moment, I don't really have like a ideal order. I just kind of grab whichever one looks handy and I go for it. Okay. Here again is where that dead stop comes in handy. And you can see that there is a collision zone so that you don't have to like hit something directly. There's a nicely illuminated collision zone that you can come up to something. Okay, so we collected a piece of cargo, 4 remaining. Yeah, there's a nicely illuminated little collision zone so that you can actually head towards things and see at what point you're close enough that it's able to take over for you. We figured making it too precise would just be overly complicated and frustrate people. And we flew through that one and we got it, so we got 3 pieces remaining. Let's try this one in first-person mode just for fun. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of shake going on, and that's actually part of what we're going to be addressing in the next patch. Oh, I'm 200 meters away. I'm almost at it. Close enough that you can actually see the little container. Because they're little containers that you're picking up, but they are little containers. So one of the main things that we're addressing in the next patch is that shake. That shake is caused by the physics engine and the large distances and high speeds, because when it says 2.3 kilometers, it's not actually kidding. I'm not faking that out. I'm not, oh, it's actually 2 meters, but I'm saying it's 2 kilometers or whatever, or it's 200 meters or something. It's actually 2,000 meter units in Godot. So, the distances are what the distances are. The downside to this is that it does mean that when you're dealing with certain things, there we go. Okay, 1 piece of cargo remaining. Where's my piece of cargo? Oh, there it is. It does mean that when you're dealing with the very large and the very small, such as the distance between you and your dashboard, that it can produce some adverse effects, like a little bit of shake here and there, which it does get a little bit obnoxious if you're staring at it too closely. It can be kind of annoying. So the solution for that apparently is to go to a long double and recompile the Godot engine so that it has much higher precision for for the physics engine. So we're going to give that a shot, and we're going to see how that goes. Oh no, I went right past it. So let me rocket on back there and go a little bit slower. The other main thing that's coming up, as you probably noticed from the notes, is that I would like very much to break out the pack file and get it compressed and encrypted. Rather than a single executable, it will actually be a 2-file, or potentially eventually more than 2-file distribution, which will make it a little bit faster to deploy for people and take up less disk space. There we go. Yay, I collected all the cargo. And you see its little notification there. Okay, so now you can see that our update is to go back to Bad Luck Bard's salvage. So let's go ahead and do that. So anyways, the other thing that we'll be doing with the encrypting the pack file and separating it out and compressing it should make it a bit more efficient for distribution and should make the overall binary quite a bit smaller. Probably in the neighborhood of, I'm going to say in the neighborhood of a gig rather than 2.6, 2.7. Because a big part of that is actually just stuff that could be compressed but isn't compressed. We had the benefit of that in Unreal Engine, but Godot doesn't have built-in compression for the pack files. That was a concern of mine when we first started looking at the engine, but you know, it's outweighed by all the various other benefits, such as the fact that I'm getting nearly 200 frames per second while streaming on a laptop, and you can't even hear my fans. And that certainly is not the case with Unreal Engine. Okay, so now that we have completed that particular mission, and of course it does that, it's just messing with me. Why it's messing with me? It's messing with me. I tell you, these devs, you know, they make this alpha software and they're like, oh, it works on my machine. Well, sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But you can see that the mission has not gotten lost. It is saved immediately after you complete it. So we should have all the cargo saved as collected as of when we did the last one. This would be a good test of that because I've never actually had it crash right there. But you can see that what it's probably having the issue on is the switch between the new hangar bay and the overhaul level. So I'll be working on that and we'll get that nailed down. I'm not entirely sure yet what causes that, but we'll get it nailed down. Until the stream, I actually never had that crash. So yeah, first time for everything. Now you'll notice in here, even when you have missions and whatnot, they don't show up on this. This is actually just a very simplified view just for parking. You will eventually be able to run around this deck on foot and in those really cool lifters that you saw in some of the wallpapers. But that's not in here quite yet. That's coming. I felt that having an actual hangar bay was more important than having it fully decorated and tricked out. You know, decoration and things like that, that's content, and that comes after functionality. Okay, so here we are, we're back.
Welcome back.
And now we can tell them that we got it
You
all.
did a super job out there.
And then
Thanks for stopping by.
we just made a nice load of change. And you can see now in here that we have two different missions available, but it only shows the synopsis of the most recent mission, which sort of shows what I was describing earlier. The reason I did that was just because this will eventually have hundreds of missions, and I didn't think people would want to go look through each one of them individually and see what the synopsis was for it. But if that's something people want, let me know, put it in the feedback forum, and we will get it added. Okay, the other thing you can do, obviously, is you can do missions, you can do jobs. Now, this ship meets requirements is actually a thing now, and it will actually add the mass, and your ship will handle differently based on the physics of however much mass you grab. So let's go ahead and play with that real quick, because that one's a lot of fun. Okay, while we're changing out here, let me check and see if there's any commentary. Well, thank you, Jess. I appreciate that you think it's looking good. I think it's looking pretty sharp too. It's certainly getting there. It's getting a lot closer to being the game that we want it to be. Even though it does still have quite a ways to go, it's getting closer, and I am heartened by that. Taken a lot of years and a lot of money to get it where we want it to be, and just so much patience on behalf of all the people who have backed us and supported our work on this, for which we are so grateful. Oh, and just so you know, there are some pirate asteroids hidden out here that have bases on them. Just thought I'd mention. Good luck finding them. They are out there. Okay, so we're going to come out here and we're going to grab some in-flight missions or some in-flight jobs, which is something that is in the alpha at the moment, but it's not going to be part of the real game. In the real game, when you grab a job, once we're done with that stage, probably in Alpha 2, what'll happen is it'll have a pickup location. You'll have to go to the pickup location to get the actual cargo, and then you'll deliver the location to the actual delivery location, which I think makes good sense. At the moment, however, you can just simply load your ship with cargo and call it a day, because we don't want to waste people's time with that when there's nothing really to do. You can see the types and how much they pay varies quite a lot. Like here's a random urgent cargo. It pays fairly well. Here's a contraband cargo. It pays incredibly well. The difference is contraband cargo, of course, if you get caught, you can lose your ship. So here's some medical cargo that's going to Alpha 1 Minor. That's a fairly long ways off, so I don't know how I'm going to do that one. But let's go ahead and grab... actually, let's show you the difference in handling. So let's grab something small and light. This is a cargo mass of 300, 500, 4,300. So let's grab this 500 one right here. Okay, we have a delivery that's right there because it's super convenient for us. And you'll see there's really no significant difference to handling, right? It's still pretty snappy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. We're going to abandon that job, and there's no ramifications for abandoning jobs at this point in the game. In the game, once we get to that point, maybe in late alpha or beta, you will, have some feedback for abandoning jobs. Now let's grab something that's closer to our max mass. See, our max mass is 24,000, so we can carry any of these jobs easily. Let's go to a medium job. Grab something that's, say, half of our max mass, like this one right here. Okay, now you'll notice the ship is quite a bit more sluggish when it's carrying half of its max mass. I mean, it's not unwieldy. You might want to consider those engines, right? Because I don't have the winglet engines on here. But if you put the winglet engines on, you get a little bit more power. You put the double engine in the back, you'll get a little bit more power. But it's definitely feeling it. See, now that it's at nearly nearly half of its max capacity. So let's go ahead and dump this one. We'll grab a small one just so you can see the comparison in effectively real time here. Got a little tiny one. Let me have it reshuffle them. It reshuffles, by the way, each time you reopen it. So if you don't see a job that you like, try again in a minute. Okay, so you see the difference? Much, much snappier, right? Okay, so let's grab one that we're not rated for. Let's grab one that's huge, like this. So this is way bigger than we're rated for. And you'll see that even though I'm giving it pretty much all she's got, I can't really maneuver this ship. It is way above what I'm capable of handling. So let's grab one that's large, but not quite that large. Like say that one. And you'll notice that if it's one that we're rated for, we can pretty well maneuver. Maybe not as well as we'd like, but we can definitely maneuver. So engine design, things like that will definitely feature into it. Carefully picking what jobs you want to pick based on how much they'll make you is important. You'll need that money to buy upgrades. Probably 2 to 3 more patches now, and then you'll be able to get upgrades. As well as, ship customization like colors and decals and things like that. But I think that pretty well covers the basics. So I'm going to go ahead and hop out here. And we'll give that a quit. And we will see if anybody's got any questions or anything. Okay, so actually let me just launch it in the background just for the point of there being music back there. Okay, so does anyone have any questions, or is there anything that you want to know about, the immediate direction with the changing to the long doubles? Is there anything that any features or anything coming up that you're curious about or that you want to know more information about? Anything like that? Now is the time to ask. And I'll give it a second here because I realize that's there's a delay on YouTube, so let me give it a little bit of a time here. Oh, and while I'm waiting for any questions, this planet that you see on the intro is in the Alpha system, in this first system here, and you will be able to visit this planet probably in Alpha 2. So not this Alpha, but the next Alpha will probably have the planet. We want to make sure that the zones work more or less the way we want them to, and we need to get the fast travel working properly, things like that. Okay, well, thank you, Jess. I appreciate that you think it's looking pretty good. Uh, still a few bugs that we need to work out, but yeah, it's looking pretty well. Okay, well, thank you guys very much for being here. I appreciate it so much. And the next patch, Alpha 1 Patch 5, the main things on it are going to be some interaction in the Academy. How much the tutorial is available, I'm not sure, but some of it, we're going to hope to have at least the NPC there. And the big items will be the 2 technology updates, which will be the recompile in Godot for the long double, so that we have higher physics precision, and getting that pack file broken out so that we can ship a smaller install. Those are going to be the main things. And then I think those are the last 2 big tech pieces. And then the main focus for patch 6 is going to be pretty much entirely content. It's going to be getting things in the game for people to play with. You'll have the tutorial ship. You'll have some more missions. You'll have some more voice acting. You'll have some more things to do. So if you're looking at the game from a point of, hey, can I play this? Oh, you can absolutely play it now. Though there isn't a whole lot to do, but how much there is to do is going to be increasing every single patch from here out. Because as we said in patch 3, really we're pretty well done with the core mechanic concepts are there. The only thing that's really missing is the polish, right? We're in early alpha. There's really no polish. So the content is coming as fast as it can for a team as small as we've got. So thank you very much for watching this whole video. Thank you very much for supporting Smugglers of Cygnus in whatever way you support it, whether it's watching videos or telling people about it or whatever you do. I appreciate it. And we will catch you on the next stream. Thank you very much and have an awesome weekend.